Today we're going to be covering distance formula. We are going to start by doing a warm-up to practice expressions. So go ahead and solve these 3 questions and then put your answers into the question boxes. So distance formula is going to be finding the distance between 2 points. And then we're also going to be determining whether or not 2 points are, or 2 segments are equal by looking at their distances. Okay, here is the distance formula. Basically, it's saying we have 2 x values and 2 y values, so 2 points, okay, or just like this, an A and a B point on the same coordinate plane. Okay, just like with midpoint, we do have a first point and a second point. It doesn't really matter which one is x1 and y1 or x2 and y2 as long as they stay the same the whole time. So this example is written here for you, okay, x1, y1, x2, y2, and we're plugging it in. So we take 1 minus -4, 2 minus -1, and we plug it into our formula. We simplify. Remember, in order of operations, we do parentheses before we do exponents, okay? And we do both of those before we do any adding outside of parentheses. And we should be getting 5.83, okay? That is the formula we are going to use every single time. So here's an example of one of the problems that we're going to work through. I'm going to put it up here on the screen so that you can see it. Okay, so let me zoom in just a tad so that we can see it a little bit better. Okay, so in this case, the points are given to us, which is kind of nice. I'm going to call this point up here x1, y1. It honestly doesn't matter. I'm going to call this point x2, y2. Again, you could flip-flop them and it would be the same. Okay, so now we are going to use our formula. I'm going to just rewrite it down here for you so that you get used to seeing it. So we're basically going to take our 2x points and subtract them and square them, our 2y points, subtract them and square them, and then we're going to just do the algebra, okay? So x2 is 5, x1 is up here and it is 1, y2 is down here, it is 2, and y1 is 5. And I always like to go through and write everything in before I go through and do any simplifying. Okay, it's just nice to see the original problem. So now I'm going to simplify. 5 minus 1 is 4. 2 minus 5 is -3. Now we're going to simplify further. 4 squared is 16. -3 squared is 9. 16 plus 9 is 25. And the square root of 25 is 5. Okay, so that is what you're going to get. All of these should give you an actual answer. You're not going to have x's and y's in your final answer. You'll just have a number. Okay, here is another problem. Okay, I'm going to help you set this one up, but then I want you to see if you can solve it and come up with the same problem or the same answer that I have. Okay, so we're going to set this one up together. It honestly doesn't matter which one you choose as y1 or y2, but in my experience, 0, 0 is always a better x1, y1. Okay, so that means this is x2 and y2. So we're going to have x2 is 2 minus 0 squared plus y2 minus 0 squared. And now I'm going to see if you guys can finish solving from there. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is determine if two things are congruent. Okay, and the way we're going to do that is we have to find the distance of both segments and make sure that they are equal. Okay, so that means that you are going to have to do two sets of the distance formula for each segment. Okay, in this case, we are going to be working on segment CD and segment AB. Okay, doesn't matter which one you do first. Okay, it's totally up to you. I'm going to do AB first just because it's alphabetically there. I'm going to call this one X1 and Y1. I'm going to call this X2 and Y2. So that tells me I have 5 minus -1 squared. And I'm adding that to 4 minus 4 squared. Minus a negative, remember, becomes a plus sign. So 5 plus 1 is 6. And 4 minus 4 is 0. So now we have 6 squared is 36. We already know 0 is going to pop out. And the square root of 36 is 6. So that means AB's distance is going to be 6. So now we're going to come over here and we're going to work on CD. Again, it doesn't matter. I'm going to call this Y1, the first one, X1, Y1. We'll call this X2, Y2. Okay. So X1 minus Y1, Y2 minus Y1. Okay. Minus a negative is plus. So in this case, -4 plus 4. Sorry, I'm off the screen. -4 plus 4 is 0. -3 minus 3. Remember, it gets more negative. So this is -6. We don't need to figure out what 0 squared is. -6 squared is 36. And the square root of 36 is 6. So because CD and AB are both equal to 6, that it means that those two segments are congruent to each other. Okay? So now you're going to do a little bit of practice. You are going to find the distances of the segments AC, BD, and AB. Okay? And then you're going to enter your answers into the question. Now that you've done the practice, you're going to do a little bit of independent practice on your own. In our Google Classroom, there is a quizzes practice for distance formula that you're going to work on. Remember that you must get at least a 70% on it for it to count as a grade. You can attempt more than one time to do it. Okay, please take your time, put in the effort, use the scratch paper. This needs to be completed by the end of the period or at least by the end of the day. But the biggest thing is don't try to do this by just looking at it, using a calculator. Please make sure you're following the same steps, plugging into the formula, and trying to solve each of these in the same process every single time.